The day God defeated an army alone, the shocking revelation behind this mysterious victory. Few knew what truly happened that night. The ground trembled beneath the weight of 1,000 soldiers. Darkness cloaked the valley, and fear gripped the hearts of the thousands who gathered. The moon hung high, a silent witness to the chilling scene unfolding. At the center stood the mightiest army in the land, poised for glory. They were fierce, known for their iron wills and battle-ready hearts. Yet, whispers of dread rippled through ranks. On this night, they faced something far more potent than swords and shields. They faced the unseen. A presence that hovered in the air, thicker than a fog, heavier than the swords they bore. I in a small tent, a lone prophet, trembling with anticipation, felt the weight of heaven's gaze. His voice was a mere drop of hope in a raging sea of despair. Tonight, God will fight for us. But could anyone truly grasp what that meant? The air crackled with energy, as if the very fabric of reality was fraying at the edges. Would they witness a miracle? Could faith really shift the tides of war? Stories danced around the campfires, tales of past victories, of walls that crumbled and seas that parted. But the tension was suffocating. Soldiers huddled closer, exchanging nervous glances. Doubts mixed with their hopes. What if the stories were just that, stories? The sound of distant drums thundered, echoing the heartbeat of an army ready for blood. Their chants filled the night, a dark symphony. But could they hear the heartbeat of God? Suddenly, a flash illuminated the horizon. Was it lightning? A divine sign? Gasps erupted, as the warriors turned their gaze upward, their fear morphing into awe. Something shifted. The winds howled, carrying the scent of rain and something else. Something powerful. The ground shook again, but this time, it wasn't just the weight of soldiers. It felt like the earth itself was alive, quaking in anticipation. Was God moving? Was he truly about to intervene? The commander clenched his fists, uncertainty etched across his face. Prepare to fight. He barked, but inside, he quaked. Could they face an enemy they couldn't see? As dawn cracked over the horizon, the sun's rays met the misty battlefield. Suddenly, chaos erupted. The enemy, fierce and confident, charged forward, battles ready to win. But something was off. Confusion infected their ranks. They stumbled, eyes wide with fear. What was happening? Why did terror grip them? And there, among the chaos, a surprising sight emerged. The soldiers fell, their bodies collapsing as if struck down by an unseen force. A strange wind howled through the valley, carrying with it the silence of disbelief. The soldiers looked on, uncertainty contorting their faces. Could they believe their eyes? Had God truly entered the fray to fight for them? As the dust settled, a question lingered: what had really happened that night, and what power had they just witnessed? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the sun arose fully over the battlefield, casting golden light upon the lifeless forms sprawled across the ground, murmurs of awe and disbelief enveloped the victors. The dust danced lightly, shimmering in the sunlight, yet the warriors stood still, unable to grasp the magnitude of what they had just witnessed. Fear had transformed into a deeper magic, one entwined with the echoes of prayer, anxiety, and divine intervention. Yet now, in the quiet that followed the storm, the question that lingered was profound: why had God chosen to act in such a mysterious manner? The prophet, shaking off the remnants of terror, stepped forward. He felt a tugging at the edges of his soul. This was not just a victory, this was a moment that demanded understanding, a call to seek the truth behind the veil that had shielded them. With renewed purpose, he gathered the soldiers, a motley crew of faces caught between victory and confusion. Listen well, my friends, he began, his voice trembling with an energy that felt otherworldly. What we have seen is beyond the power of men. Our God has shown us his might, but we must comprehend why he chose to intervene like this. It was not just for our sakes but for something far greater. As they gathered closer, leaning in, the unity of their purpose began to form a fragile thread of camaraderie. The prophet continued, we have witnessed a power that transcends our understanding. It was his will that shattered the shackles of fear within our hearts. But what is this mysterious victory teaching us? What remains hidden from our eyes? One soldier, emboldened by the spirit that seemed to swell within the group, interjected, "But what about our enemies? They lie defeated, and our victory was not achieved by our own swords. What fate awaits them? Is this truly justice?" A shadow crossed the prophet's face as he considered this. Perhaps God has a purpose far beyond our understanding. Each life he touches, each defeat carries significance. Our task is to seek his truth amid this complexity. We must not glorify ourselves in this victory but rather ask why we were chosen to witness such a display of his power. The soldiers nodded, but murmurs of uncertainty lingered in the air. The sun climbed higher, illuminating the stark reality of the battlefield, revealing each moment as a memory yet to unfold. They had been given a gift wrapped in the weight of responsibility. If God had fought for them, what were they called to do now? Would they praise or forget? As dusk began to color the horizon, the palpable tension shifted to a somber reflection. The prophet knew his task was not complete. Let us not leave this place devoid of meaning. We must remember this day, not just as a victory, but a reminder of his sovereignty amidst chaos. With that, he led them in a prayer of gratitude and reflection. One by one, they knelt, whispering words that mingled with the evening breeze, seeking understanding. The weight of the day settled deep within them, and yet, that longing for understanding remained unquenched. As twilight unfolded, and the first stars began to blanket the sky, a new question surfaced among them all, echoing in their hearts. What were they meant to learn from this mysterious victory? And would they rise to the challenge that awaited, or allow the enigma of this day to slip into the shadows of memory? The night wrapped the battlefield in a shroud of stillness, a stark contrast to the chaos that had recently unfolded. It was during this quiet hour that the prophet found himself walking among the fallen, his feet guided by a force greater than mere curiosity. He moved deliberately, each step a prayer, each breath infused with a solemn reverence for the lives that had been lost. The moon cast a silver light, illuminating the faces of the dead, moments frozen in time, telling stories unspoken. As the air thickened with an unearthly silence, a thought stirred within him, a divine riddle nestled deep within the heart of the very victory they had just celebrated. Was this moment truly meant for them, or was it a whisper of something far more profound? The prophet knelt beside a defeated soldier, his armor battered and his expression forever caught in a battle cry that would never be completed. The prophet gazed at him, not with disdain, but with a heart open to understanding. "Lord, reveal to me the nature of your will," he murmured, his voice a mere breath against the night. "What do you desire us to see?" In that stillness, the faintest flicker of a presence enveloped him, not unsettling, but rather soothing, a reminder that even in defeat, the threads of life and death are woven into a tapestry of divine purpose. At that moment, he understood, these souls were not merely casualties in a conflict, but pieces of a larger story, living testimonies of the struggle between human pride and divine grace. Awakening from his thoughts, the prophet rose, the weight of responsibility heavy upon his shoulders. He returned to the gathered soldiers, still ignited by the mysteries of the day. They looked to him, their faces a tapestry of confusion and hope, eager for answers yet burdened by the enormity of the experience. The prophet's heart beat with a renewed purpose as he addressed them with a newfound clarity. "Brothers, hear me. In battle, as we align our wills against our foes, let us not forget that each conflict teaches us more than mere victory or defeat. Each person set before us carries within them fragments of God's creation. We are called not just to conquer but to understand the weight of our choices. Today, we witness power beyond comprehension, yet power not meant solely to elevate us above others, but to remind us of our shared existence under the gaze of the Almighty." The soldiers shifted at his words, some beginning to grasp the deeper implications. Another stepped forward, still wrestling with lingering unrest. "But what of the lives we've taken? Are we not murderers in the eyes of God? How can we rejoice for what was achieved on the backs of fallen souls?" A murmur of agreement rippled through the group, and the prophet knew the weight of their question. "You speak a truth that must be acknowledged," he replied gently. "For our victories must never blind us to our moral compass. The battle may be won, but the war within ourselves is a lifelong journey. Our true test lies in transforming this victory into a source of humility and compassion." As the stars twinkled above, an unanticipated sound arose, a soft weeping, as if the earth itself mourned the fallen. The soldiers turned, each feeling the connection to the suffering they had caused, a united discomfort that filled the night air. The prophet bowed his head, cherishing the unity of their sorrow. Viewing the emotions, he saw a flicker of hope. Perhaps they were finally beginning to see the prophetic vision of justice intertwined with mercy. "Let us honor those who fell today," he said, lifting his gaze once more. "Let us be lights in the darkness that follows our triumph. What must we do to ensure that this victory guides our hearts toward peace rather than pride? How do we begin to rebuild trust, and acknowledge the lives that were lost, just as precious as our own? The questions lingered, a potent mix of confusion and enlightenment swirling in the night. The truth was becoming clearer, yet the path ahead remained uncertain. The soldiers, united in purpose, began to murmur their willingness to learn, to seek forgiveness, to change. As they spoke, a new realization dawned: victory, though weightless, carried with it responsibilities that could reshape the world around them. They were not merely warriors, they were caretakers of a divine mission. And thus, beneath the vast expanse of the cosmos, a deeper question emerged from their collective consciousness: what legacy would they fashion from this moment, and how would it define the future of their people? Would they rise to the challenge of embracing the mystery of divine love and justice that accompanied their victory, or would they allow the echoes of this day to dissipate into the silence? The first light of dawn had yet to break when the prophet gathered the weary soldiers again. They found themselves drawn to a connection forged by shared experience, an invisible thread binding their hearts together. The fallen lay silent around them, and in their eyes, the weight of the night still lingered. Today, he began softly, we stand upon hallowed ground. What has been cast aside is not merely the remnants of conflict, but the very essence of life itself. We tread not only on soil stained with defeat, but also upon a ground that speaks of sacrifice. The silent cries, the stories lost, the dreams unfulfilled. The soldiers shifted uneasily, the prophet's words piercing the veil of their bravado. He continued, his voice imbued with both urgency and tenderness: as we gather in this sacred stillness, let us ask ourselves, how is God present in our struggles, even when the victory appears to be ours? In what way does His will transcend our own intentions on this battlefield? A murmur of contemplation spread through the ranks. Clarity and doubt clashed within each heart. One soldier stepped forward, a young man whose hands, still stained with the remnants of battle, trembled. Prophet, you call us to look deeper, yet the weight of our actions looms large. How can we reconcile this victory with the blood that stains our consciousness? The prophet felt the weight of that question settle around them like a thick fog. He took a moment, the air heavy with expectation, before answering. In every victory, there lies a paradox. We are challenged to embrace both the light and the dark. It is in recognizing our shortcomings that we can unveil the divine mystery of grace. Let us not shun our failings, rather, let them draw us closer to understanding the sacred desires of our Creator. His eyes scanned the faces before him, seeking resonance in their souls. Another voice broke through, an elder soldier whose years of experience were etched in the lines of his face. What shall we do, prophet? How do we ensure we do not forget the lessons birthed from this day? How can we prevent ourselves from spiraling back into a cycle of pride and destruction? Remember, replied the prophet, this is not a journey taken alone. As we bind ourselves to one another, we must also humbly approach the one who orchestrates all. Within our collective grief lies the foundation for greater understanding. Let our hearts be softened by the love shown through the acts of those who have gone before us. He gestured toward the distant horizon where the sun threatened to rise. Like the dawn that breaks after the darkest of nights, let us be the light to guide our people forward. Let us share not just tales of glory but stories of empathy and redemption. In our remembrance, the names of the fallen embody truths we must uphold. As the sun broke free from the horizon, golden rays swept across the battlefield, illuminating the thoughts lingering in the soldiers' hearts. Hope began to sprout from the seeds of remorse they had planted. They pondered their action show the echoes of victory could dull the senses, yet serve as a reminder to seek the path of righteousness. Brothers, the prophet called out, as we set forth today, let us be stewards of change. Let us reflect on our struggles against one another, and also against the forces of oppression that loom ever closer. We must prepare ourselves to stand firm, not just in battle, but in compassion. Suddenly, a gentle breeze stirred. It felt as though the world itself sighed, weaving through the charged atmosphere, imparting the wisdom of creation. In that moment, the collective spirit of the fallen seemed to shimmer with their silent approval, urging the living forward into the realm of what could be. What legacy will we write? He asked, allowing the question to hang in the air alive and unending. What stories will we tell? Will our victory inspire tales of hearts transformed, or will we merely forge ahead, emboldened by our might? As they lingered in contemplation, a sense of responsibility settled over the soldiers, mingling with hope. Sacred calling to transform tragedy into something beautiful. Yet, the road ahead was still obscured, filled with uncertainty. Together, they wondered, in the light of a new day, could they nurture the fragile shoots of change, or would they, in the end, succumb to their own histories? The morning light continued to unfurl across the battlefield, casting long shadows behind the soldiers as they took in the prophet's words. Among them, a quiet unrest stirred, the the questions of the night had not fully unraveled. The ground beneath them felt alive, as if the spirits of the past hovered closely, eager to impart wisdom yet weary of the hearts burdened by grief. Each soldier turned inward, gripped by a shared realization that, despite the glory once sought in battle, victory came at a profound cost. The air crackled with unspoken fears, and the prophet sensed the tide of emotion swelling within them. Raising his hand to quiet the murmurs, he beckoned their attention once more. My brothers and sisters, as the dawn sheds light upon this hallowed ground, let us reflect on the notion of true victory. What if the greatest triumph lies not in the conquest of our foes, but instead in winning the battle against the darkness within ourselves? Confusion swept through the ranks, compelling gazers to lock onto the prophet. A soldier with fierce eyes, decorated with the scars of many confrontations, stepped forward, charged with indignation. Prophet, are you suggesting that our sacrifices have been in vain? We fought for our people, for our homes, yet therein lies the crux of our understanding, the prophet replied gently, his tone soothing like the first whispers of summer. To win the hearts of our people requires more than just the vanquishing of an enemy. Our struggle must begin at home within us, against the selfishness and pride that threaten to harden our spirits. It is a call to embrace humility even amidst triumph. As they absorbed his words, the horizon glimmered with gold, the light catching the faintest traces of dew that clung to the earth like tears of the fallen. A heavy silence wrapped around them, cultivated by the weight of history and the paths chosen thus far. One voice, soft but poignant, broke through the reverie. A young woman among the ranks, her heart emboldened by the collective vulnerability. But how can we confront the darkness in ourselves when we are surrounded by it? The enemy lurks not far from our borders, he waits for a moment of weakness. The prophet nodded, understanding the tension between the internal battles they faced and the external threats that loomed. Your question unveils a profound truth, for our greatest adversary is often not the sword of our enemies, but the within. And yet, it is precisely through confronting that vulnerability that we can forge a collective strength that cannot be easily shattered. He gestured expansively, encompassing the grass that bore witness to their fight, the soil that had absorbed both their blood and their prayers. Together, we must cultivate the soil of peaceful intentions and tender actions. Herein lies the test of our faith and fortitude, to embed ourselves deeply into the fabric of healing, for we must give as much as we take. As the words rolled from his lips, a wind swept through the gathering, rustling the leaves of nearby trees that seemed to resonate with a distant echo. It was as though the very elements were participating in their discourse. Embracing the silence, the soldiers reflected on their own hidden rancor and pride, recognizing how easily they could fall prey to these shadows. Again, the elder soldier, whose face bore the heavy lines of wisdom, spoke with quiet authority. But how do we remember those lost, those who fell by our sides in this struggle, while we tread this delicate path between mercy and might? Will their valor remain uncelebrated? The prophet looked out past the horizon, as though seeking an answer from the heavens. It is within our stories that they shall live on. Their legacy must not be defined by the bloodshed but by the love they brought into the world. In our remembrance, we shall not only speak of battles won, but of kindness shown to one another amidst adversity. A profound murmuring echoed through the ranks, hearts beginning to rally toward hope, imagining how their actions could shape the future. Yet in that moment of collective aspiration, the prophet felt the heaviness of responsibility settle on him. But reflect on this as we move forward, in our quest for redemption. Will we truly honor the fallen, or will we simply replace one cycle of violence with another? The question hung suspended in the air, ripe with unresolved tension and potential. As the first rays of full light bathed them in warmth, the soldiers pondered the implications of their next steps. Would they strike out merely to assert their might, or could they forge a path that led to true reconciliation, nurturing the delicate balance between remembrance and transformation? As the soldiers stood in solemn reflection, the prophet's words hung heavily in the air, dense with possibility and unspoken fears. The sun continued its ascent, gilding the earth in hues of gold and amber, awakening the world from a prolonged slumber. Yet, within the hearts of the warriors, a deeper struggle unfolded, a conflict not only against the enemy beyond their borders but one that seethed quietly within. Breaking the spell of silence, a gentle yet firm voice emerged from the back of the ranks. It belonged to a young boy, a mere lad with wide-eyed innocence who had clung closely to his father, a soldier. But, sir, he began, timidly yet driven by a profound curiosity, if we are to change the way we fight, how will we know when to stand and defend our home? What if the enemy does not spare us mercy? The prophet knelt down to the boy's level, his gaze steady and reassuring. Bravery is not found solely in the sword raised against an opponent, it is also seen in the moments of surrender to one another, to vulnerability. It requires the courage to listen, to extend a hand rather than draw a blade. The boy's brow furrowed, wrestling with the weight of such meanings wrapped in simplicity. But what if they don't listen back? What if they come again, as they always have? The prophet smiled gently, recognizing the depth of the child's question. In seeking peace, my son, we must not measure success by the absence of conflict, but by our resilience to forge understanding. Look at the land that stretches before us. He gestured widely, to the misty hills beyond. Is it not here, amidst the struggle of our own hearts, that we cultivate true strength? Each seed planted in the soil of forgiveness bears fruit in ways unexpected. The soldiers listened, recording their previous encounters weighted by anger and the urgency to vanquish their foes. Their understanding expanded. Could it be that their wounds could heal in unity, rather than sharpen in conflict? The evening promised power in choice, and yet shadows still lingered, daunting in their persistence. A seasoned warrior, cloaked in layers of battle armor, stepped forth, voice gruff with the experience of survival. And if we pursue this path of healing, prophet, what of the invaders? What assurance do we have that they won't interpret our gestures of goodwill as weakness to be exploited? The prophet remained resolute, empowered by the spirit of the moment. Trust is a fragile bridge, yet it often leads us to uncharted territories. The teachings of the past remind us that triumph lies not merely in the overwhelming of our enemies, but in the silent victories claimed in our own hearts. We must first become unbreakable ourselves, fortified in love and purpose. With that declaration, the prophet turned his gaze to the distant mountains that loomed over them, silent sentinels of time. A tremor passed through the assembly, another unvoiced longing awakening the aspiration to delve deeper into the mysteries that surrounded them. Some began to exchange glances, as hope flickered in their eyes, while others clung tightly to their skepticism, and just as uncertainty began to dance among them once more, a low rumble echoed from the heavens, the sky darkening momentarily, as if to mirror their turmoil. Lightning split the clouded air, illuminating the battlefield in stark contrast. They held their breath collectively, feeling the energy of the universe shift around them. Was this a sign? Fear surged alongside an ineffable hope, drawing them together. What did this moment portend, a warning or a blessing? As the day climbed higher, the prophet raised his voice yet again, addressing the wonder in their faces. Even as the storm brews above, consider this: is it not within the storm that we often discover our true nature? The fortitude or fragility of our spirits is revealed amidst chaos. What might we glean from this? The skies roared again, threatening yet compelling, urging their hearts to respond. The soldiers found themselves at a crossroads. Would they wrestle against the tempest, or could they embrace uncertainty as an invitation to growth and transformation? Would they follow the path of their fears, or reach for the light of revelation even amid darkness? As their reflections intensified, a new question took root within. In the dance of shadows and light, how will we respond when the forces around us seem to conspire against our peace? And in that discomfort, could we discover the beauty of a shared journey towards something greater? As the soldiers stood beneath the foreboding heavens, their eyes turned toward the prophet, uncertainty blossoming amidst their hopes. The tempest roared overhead, its voice reverberating deep within the hearts of men accustomed to the clang of swords and the scent of fear. Yet here they were, teetering on the precipice of a choice that could reshape their very existence. With the clouds swirling ominously, the prophet's gaze was unyielding. Remember, my friends, he said softly, his voice imbued with urgency, storms are often a harbinger of clarity. They churn the waters of our souls and bring to the surface what we dare not acknowledge. In this tempest lies an invitation not to retreat, but to reckon with our true selves. The young boy's eyes flickered with understanding. So the storm is not just a danger? He asked, his voice small yet vibrant with possibility. It could help us see what we are really fighting for. Indeed, child, the prophet affirmed, the warmth in his tone bridging the gap between ages and fears. In acknowledging our vulnerabilities, we are fortified. As the clouds gather, listen close to the whispers of your spirit. For in brutal honesty lies our strength, and from it, a powerful foundation for peace can be built. The tempest may bring destruction, but it also clears the path for new beginnings. With each passing moment, the soldiers exchanged glances, the rigid beliefs of their upbringing resting against the prophet's radical call to embrace their inner turmoil. Even the seasoned warrior, once cloaked in skepticism, began to reflect. And tell me, prophet, he ventured, casting his gaze back to the horizon where shadows loomed larger, how do we prepare for what is coming? What if the storm does not cease, and in its wake is left devastation? Is there not wisdom in a sword drawn for protection? The prophet pondered, the storm crackling like fire in the sky. He took a breath and smiled at the challenge, sensing a profound juncture in their discourse. Preparation, my friend, begins not with armor, but with the heart. Let you not be governed by fear of destruction, but be led by the possibility of creation. When faced with the trials of oppression, our choice is to build walls or bridges. Which shall you nurture within? As the gusts of wind tangled their fervor, shaking the very ground beneath them, the soldiers felt their courage battle against a surge of chaos. Each flicker of lightning illuminated the history etched into their souls, the cycles of conflict that had bound them like chains. Could they forsake the familiar rhythm of rage and embrace instead the melody of unity? However dilapidated our foundations may seem, the prophet continued, his cadence steady and profound, the true victory is found in the choices we make now. In days to come, when we recall how we stood before the storm, may it not be with swords raised, but hands joined in defiance of division. From the periphery, the clouds writhed, vibrant and alive. Fear took a new shape, and curiosity danced between the soldiers like a faint whisper of a beckoning truth. Each of them felt the gnawing urge to seek deeper understanding, as the ties that bound them to hate began to fray against the prophet's vision. Tell us, a gentle woman's voice rose from the crowd, reminding them all of their shared humanity. What if the enemy we face is not just beyond us, but within? How can we navigate our own shadows while confronting theirs? The prophet's eyes gleamed with acceptance of this transformative inquiry. Oh, he breathed, as we engage in this sacred journey, seek not only to confront, but to understand. The enigma of the human heart can mirror the darkness of our adversities. In recognizing our fears, we reclaim our narratives. In doing so, we illuminate the path for those lost in the murk of warfare. As they stood united, wrapped within the shadows of doubt but reaching toward the light of revelation, the soldiers felt the winds shift yet again. The storm, fierce and chaotic, bore witness to their deliberation, each drop of rain a reminder of the struggle that lay ahead and the choices yet to be made. Could it be that this storm was a divine prompting, a moment to commune with the soul of creation itself? As the rumble of thunder settled into an ethereal hush, a question lingered palpably in the air, breathing life into their discourse. How might the unfolding tempest reveal the deeper truths we must grapple with, both within ourselves and in the conflicts we face? The tempest continued to roar, a ceaseless soundtrack to the unfolding drama, as the soldiers stood entranced by the prophet's words. In that charged atmosphere, the ominous clouds seemed less a sign of destruction and more an opportunity for revelation. The young boy, still wide-eyed and filled with curiosity, spoke once more. What does it mean to confront the enemy within? How do we even begin? The prophet turned his gaze to the horizon, where the tempest collided with the very essence of their fate. To confront the enemy within is to engage with the doubts that gnaw at our spirit, the fears that cage our hearts. Each of us carries scars, remnants of battles fought in silence. Acknowledge them, they whisper truths we often shy away from. When illuminated by honesty, obstacles transform into stepping stones leading to deeper understanding. A seasoned soldier stepped forward, his brow furrowed as he processed the prophet's challenge. But what if digging into those scars opens old wounds that we cannot heal? Is it not easier to forget and press on with our weapons drawn? In the short term, yes, it may feel easier, the prophet replied gently. Yet that ease can be a facade, a mirage that masks the true path. Like the storm that clears the air, we must face our fears to breathe freely. Healing can begin only when we no longer fear the pain. Embrace it, and you shall find the strength to transform. Though his eyes were seasoned by battles fought, hope flickered anew within the soldier. If I unearth my past, will I find forgiveness for those I've wronged? Or for myself? Oh, the prophet mused, forgiveness is often the most difficult victory to claim. Yet it is in the act of releasing that we find liberation. Forgiveness is not merely an absolution for others but a balm for our own wounds, enabling us to emerge from the shadows of hate into the brilliance of grace. Trust that the storm may clear the very air we breathe and lead us to reconciliation. A murmur rippled through the gathered crowd. Each person wrestled with their own narrative of pain and conflict, memories swirling like the clouds above. The winds grew steadier, revealing a powerful energy rippling through the assembly. Could it be that in confronting their past, they could rewrite their shared future? Suddenly, the sky darkened, thunder booming as if echoing their collective struggle. The soldier turned to the prophet once more, desperation lacing his voice. But what if our adversaries do not share the same quest for understanding? What if they strike while we are still mending our own hearts? Then, my friend, the prophet whispered, a calm amidst the chaos, raise not your sword but your spirit to the heavens. Remember that the divine power rests not solely in action, but in intention. An army forged in understanding can alter the course of history, transforming enmity into collaboration, dissent into harmony. You stand at the threshold of that possibility today. The atmosphere shifted, allowing the weight of his words to settle within each heart. Uncertainty mixed with curiosity, igniting flickers of hope where shadows had once prevailed. The prophet's wisdom seemed to open pathways through the storm, each soldier feeling the pull towards something greater than mere survival. Yet, he continued, each choice bears unquantifiable weight. In this moment, reflect once more, what truths do you conceal not only from your enemies but from yourselves? In the face of this existential tempest, what stories do you wish to tell in the days to come? As the winds howled louder, a profound silence enveloped the soldiers, hearts throbbing with introspection. The conflict lay not only in the battles they had fought but in the battles still raging within. Each felt the raw vulnerability of shared humanity, a bond among them deepening, and there they stood, amidst the brewing storm, grappling with the unknowns of both the horizon and their inner worlds. Would they find the courage to confront not just the soldiers across the field but the inner adversities that had long held them captive? The questions lingered, inviting reflection and exploration as the storm raged on, weaving a narrative yet untold. As the tempest roiled above them, swirling with turbulent winds and shifting shadows, the soldiers could feel an unseen presence gathering in the atmosphere, thick and palpable. The prophet's words echoed in their minds, heavy with unasked questions and poignant uncertainties. Face your own storms, he had urged, for within you lies the strength to redirect the very currents of your fate. His simple wisdom seemed to cling to the air, igniting flickers of resolution among some, yet bewildering others, as they struggled to reconcile the call for introspection with the reality of war that loomed unexpectedly close. The fervent crackle of energy surrounding their gathering hinted at nascent revelations, whispering promises of transformation among the assembled warriors. A young woman stepped forward, her countenance unyielding despite the uncertainty. What if our strength is not enough? What if our weapons fail, while those we seek to overcome advance upon us? How can understanding rival the might of an army that does not seek peace? The prophet regarded her with compassion, recalling his own youthful ignorance and fear. Dear child, the fiercest battles are often waged within the silence of one's heart. When your flesh fails, your spirit can soar. Alone, you may feel exposed, yet together, your souls weave a tapestry that transcends mere combat. Sometimes, victory lies not in numbers but in unity of purpose. What is this unity, prophet? A veteran soldier interrupted, discontent brewing beneath his weathered exterior. What binds us if not the clang of weapons and banners flying amidst the fray? It is easy to speak of understanding when battle has yet to be joined. The prophet turned his eyes to the darkening skies, a swirl of tempestuous opportunity reflecting the struggle of men. True unity sprouts from shared risk. It is born from embracing vulnerability, realizing the weight of collective sin, remorse, and hope. In every heart lies the echo of God's call, a reminder that we are not merely warriors, but caretakers of each other's souls. The bind of brotherhood cannot shatter amongst blades, it deepens in the embrace of trust. As the voices of discontent ebbed, another soldier, his face softened by newfound resolve, took a step forward. What if our enemy seeks the same understanding? Are we not all wanderers, searching for our own redemption amid the howling winds of fate? The prophet's gaze intensified, piercing through the gathering clouds as if glimpsing the souls of those around them. Or, therein lies the profound mystery. In every adversary, we find a mirror reflecting not only their struggle but our unacknowledged fears and grievances. Each act of aggression may be a battle cry for peace, a misguided plea for connection amid the chaos. What if your enemy is not an adversary, but a reflection of the turmoil buried within? The winds howled louder, twisting in concert with their thoughts, fretting against the boundless sky. A palpable tension hung in the air, questioning the foundation of conflict itself while hinting at the notion of shared humanity. Yet, what if we dare not reach out? The young boy's voice quivered, eyes shining with clarity. What if our own shadows consume us first, long before the enemy may strike? Then a greater battle lies ahead, the prophet replied. One that stirs deep waters, where hidden fears and desires await acknowledgement. The storm may be both a threat and an emblem, the divine's way of compelling us to break free from chains of misunderstanding and fear. As he spoke, the skies glimmered momentarily between flashes of thunder, a wild reminder that clarity can be born from chaos. In that fleeting moment, something shifted among the ranks, a rush of possibility surged through their hearts. Collective longing for peace wrestled harmoniously with an instinct for survival, and in that atmosphere, vibrantly laden with challenge and contemplation, the soldiers stood on the threshold of fate, yet far from resolution. Would they find the courage to turn their swords into plowshares and heed the prophet's urging? Or would they surrender to the tumult of their own fears and desires, never discovering the power that lies in shared vulnerability? The weight of their dilemma lingered, festering beneath the stormy night, awaiting the revelation that could redefine not just their battle, but the very essence of what it truly meant to be human. As the tempest raged above, a profound stillness settled deep within the hearts of the warriors. They stood, caught in a tidal wave of reflection, wrestling with the heart of the prophet's words. The storm, both a harbinger of destruction and a catalyst for transformation, beckoned them to listen beyond the call of battle, beyond the churning chaos. The prophet gazed into the faces around him, sensing the shift in their spirit, the burgeoning tension between doubt and hope. "Dear ones," he spoke, his voice cutting through the howling wind. "What if I told you that the true enemy is not out there, but right here, within us? This storm we face is but a manifestation of our inner battles, a reflection of fear, pride, and unresolved conflict." A young soldier, fueled by indignation, stepped forward. "But are we not soldiers? Trained to fight, to protect our people? Do we not wield our swords against those who threaten our existence? Are we to lay our arms down in the face of danger?" The prophet lowered his gaze, compassion etching across his features. Courage does not lie solely in the swinging of swords but stands tall in the foundations of understanding. It is boldness to confront the shadows within, to acknowledge the hurt and resentment that can so easily breed further conflict. Let the storm forge strength in our vulnerability, let it bind us together in empathy rather than division. As lightning shattered the darkened sky, illuminating the landscape in stark brilliance, the soldiers felt an electric energy awaken deep inside. Was it a call to a possibility beyond war, beyond enmity? Among the crowd, the young boy piped up once more. "But, prophet, what if our enemies don't want peace? What if they come for us anyway?" "Then we must prepare our hearts," the prophet replied, his voice steady and eloquent. "True preparation is forged in love, not in fear. When armed with understanding and compassion, we wield a power far mightier than any sword. War may threaten us, but it cannot dismantle the strength of our unity, the bonds we form amidst the chaos of existence." The air crackled with anticipation, and the clouds roared as if responding to the call of their hearts. A fierce tension hung over them until an elder soldier, his face kindly yet etched with the memories of battle, stepped forth. "And what of justice? How can we seek this understanding without reckoning for the pain inflicted upon us and our kin?" "Justice, my brothers and sisters, flows from the fountain of mercy," the prophet replied, his eyes glimmering with conviction. "To heal, we must navigate the fragile web of grace and empathy woven through our very souls. In doing so, we rebuke the cycle of revenge, we craft a new narrative for ourselves." The winds grew still, swirling momentarily in reverent silence, allowing the weight of his words to sink in. The soldier's eyes began to glimmer with realization. Perhaps the storm was not just meant to test them, but to illuminate the path to a deeper victory, one that could transcend mere survival. A brave warrior raised his voice amid the stillness. "If we walk this path together, what does the road ahead look like?" The prophet smiled, sensing the shift toward hope. "A journey rooted in shared stories. We will walk alongside our enemies, not merely as conquerors but as fellow souls seeking to navigate the storm of existence together. In recognizing the pain and humanity in each other, we can cultivate a truce that binds you, forged not in enmity but in understanding." The sky above deepened, revealing an intricate tapestry of stars, cascading light piercing through the shroud of darkness. The soldiers exchanged glances, shades of fear still dancing in their hearts but dimming against the profound awareness burgeoning within. A flicker of inspiration ignited in the eyes of a once fearful soldier, now a visionary. "What if we create spaces for dialogue, for healing? What if we listen to the stories of those we once considered enemies?" With each proposition made, the atmosphere seemed to shimmer, carrying the weight of new possibilities. The prophet continued, his voice laced with passion, "Yes. Let us become the architects of a legacy that honors the fallen while fostering understanding among the living. Let us rise together from the ashes of division and craft a path of reconciliation, a flight toward peace, igniting hope where despair once reigned." As the words of the prophet reverberated through the air, a sudden calm enveloped the warriors. They sensed the divinity emerging from the heart of their recognition, a whisper claiming their allegiance for something greater than individual conflicts. In a sacred release, the tempests within began to settle as well. Love flooded the wounded spaces, hope blossomed amidst the rubble of despair. As twilight emerged and the last echoes of the storm began to fade, they stood hand in hand, united in purpose, a tapestry of humanity woven through shared stories and collective introspection. "Brothers and sisters," the prophet declared with fervor, "today we forge not just a path toward victory in battle, but a journey toward healing and unity that extends beyond the horizon. Let us hold tight to the flames of this transformative experience. We are no longer just soldiers, we are ambassadors of peace." The ripple of agreement surged through the group, transforming into a chorus of pledges for the travail ahead. Under the expanse of stars, they knew an invitation awaited them, a call to rise beyond the boundaries of fear, to embrace the profound revelation born from the storm. And as the storm passed, it left behind not just a battlefield marked by struggle, but a canvas ready to cradle the newfound possibilities inherent in every human heart. In that moment, they realized the truest victory was not just the defeat of an enemy, but the awakening of their spirits together, in pursuit of healing in a world broken by war, veering ever closer to the embrace of love and understanding. Thus, under the vast tapestry of the night sky reminder woven by divine hands, the soldiers stood transformed, bound no longer by the chains of their past, but emboldened by the promise of a shared future,